Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
I was 34 when the fire took my wife, Tessa, and our little boy. I was working nights at the frozen foods warehouse. Cold dock, 5-degree shift, forklifts screaming in reverse. Sirens cut through the air just past 3 a.m. I didn't know they were headed to my street till my supervisor came running, phone in hand, mouth flat. They said it started in the kitchen. Faulty wire, maybe. They said it was fast. I still hear the sirens in my sleep. The house was gone. I remember standing on the curb in my steel toes, wearing the stupid company parka with Harlan stitched on the front, like a name could stop your world from collapsing. They let me through the tape, sat me down, and said the words nobody should ever have to hear. At the memorial, I didn't say a word. Just stood there, suit too tight, jaw locked. That's when Pastor Pierce walked up, shook my hand like I was a man, not a cautionary tale. He looked me in the eye and said, "Don't turn to the right or to the left." I nearly laughed in his face. I didn't need churchy riddles. I needed my family back. But he stuck around. He didn't flinch when I ignored him, didn't back off when I barked. He just said it again like a mechanic giving the same advice twice. "Keep walking, Harlan. Don't turn." Before we get into the story, share in the comments which city or country you're listening from. I'd love to see where everyone's tuning in from. Thanks, and let's continue. I started going to his Tuesday night support group a week later. Didn't talk, didn't pray. Just sat in the back, drank burnt coffee, and stared at the carpet. Pierce never pushed. Just nodded when I showed up, clapped me on the shoulder when I left. Half the reason I kept going was him. The other half was Marin, Tessa's younger sister. She was at every group, checking in after, leaving Tupperware on my porch, calling just enough to be annoying, but not so much I snapped. She worked at the county school office as a custody coordinator, dealt with messy families, knew when to shut up and let people sink or swim. Nights were the worst. Just me, a fridge that hummed too loud, and baseboard heat that clicked like a metronome for grief. I kept 2 things on the shelf by the door, Tessa's old recipe box and our boy's blue toy truck. That's it. Everything else could rot. Pierce started me off simple. Breathing exercises, journaling, some first aid refreshers I'd learned years ago on the job. Small wins beat big speeches, he said. That one stuck better than the Bible verses. Daryl, my shift supervisor, didn't fire me even though I missed a full week after the fire. Kept me on the overnight dock. "You're steady," he said. I wasn't. But I said thanks anyway and made sure I showed up, even when grief knocked the wind out of my ribs. First Sunday in March, I decided to show up at church, sit in the back, and count how many times Pierce said hope. I made it to 7 before he hit me with Deuteronomy. Voice sharp, eyes locked forward. Do not turn to the right or to the left. After service, he caught me in the aisle. "Keep walking, Harlan," he said, clapped my shoulder once, and left me standing there like I'd swallowed a nail. I took the back road home, same one I always took, down under the state bridge, where the creek runs low and the rocks shimmer like foil in the light. That's when I saw it. Hazard lights blinking up ahead. A beat-up sedan stopped crooked on the shoulder. Some guy hopped out, gray hoodie, dark jeans, carrying a wooden crate in both arms like he was running late for something bad. He walked straight to the rail and chucked it over like it was trash. Before my brain even caught up, my body slammed the brakes. I was out the door, boots off, and down the embankment without thinking twice. That's the exact second my life broke open again. I hauled the crate to shore and tore the lid free. A newborn, blue-lipped and quiet, but breathing. I called 911 and told dispatch what I'd seen. They patched me through to the hospital's on-call child welfare investigator, Blair, who told me to drive straight to urgent peds and follow her sedan in. I followed Blair's taillights through town, white-knuckling the wheel like it might break free. The baby was tucked inside my flannel shirt, his cheek against my chest, breath warm but shallow. Every bump in the road made me flinch. I kept one hand on the wheel, the other cupped around his back, like I could hold him together with body heat alone. The urgent PED's entrance lit up the side of the building like a gas station. Harsh, buzzing, too bright. Blair didn't wait. She flagged a nurse who opened my door and reached in with practiced calm, like she'd done this 100 times. The nurse's fingers moved quick, checked his pulse, eyes scanning. Then she said, "Follow me in. They'll get you both warm." Inside, nurses moved fast. A woman in purple scrubs took him from my chest, wrapped him in fresh blankets, and disappeared behind double doors. I stood there soaked to the thighs, shirt half open, heart pounding like I'd just survived a wreck. One nurse handed me a dry towel and pointed toward a chair. "Sit. You look like you're going to pass out." "I'm fine," I muttered, but my legs disagreed. I sat. Blair came back with a clipboard. "We'll need an initial account from you. Just facts for now." I nodded and gave her everything. Where I was, what I saw, how I reacted. She wrote fast but didn't interrupt. When I finished, she looked up and said, "We'll do intake under John Doe, but if he makes it through tonight, he'll need a name." That hit harder than I expected. I looked down at the shirt still clinging to my arms, wet with river water and body heat. "We don't know his name." "We don't know anything," she said. The nurse reappeared. "He's stable," she said. "Vitals are holding. No obvious injuries. Doc thinks he's less than a day old." I leaned forward, elbows on knees, and let the air out of my lungs. One full breath. Just one. Blair touched my shoulder. "I'm going to call the child welfare line and report the safe surrender. It's technically an abandonment, but he's alive. That matters most right now." A few minutes later, I was allowed back into the pediatric room. The baby was in a bassinet under a warmer, wrapped like a burrito. His skin had more color now, like milk and peaches. Tiny, sharp chin, lips moving in his sleep like he was dreaming already. I reached in and touched his hand. He gripped my finger like a reflex, tight, stubborn, like he wasn't letting go. The nurse smiled. "That's a good sign." I said, "Hey, bud," without meaning to. The word caught in my throat like a tack. I stepped back before I lost it. Blair came in behind me. "This is going to move fast. CPS is opening a file now. Until we identify next of kin, we're going to need a temporary caregiver." "Foster?" I asked. "Short term. Just a safe place until we know who he belongs to. Could be hours, could be days." Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Marin. I stepped into the hall and picked up. "He's okay," I said. "They've got him on monitors and heaters and whatever else." "What do you need?" "I don't know. I'm at Pierce's still. Want me to meet you there when you're done?" I paused. Yeah, that's good." Back in the room, Blair said, "We'll transfer him to county care once we've got a spot. For now, if you're willing, I'd rather not separate him twice in one night." "What does that mean?" I asked. "It means you take him home tonight. Paperwork in the morning. We'll set up temporary care then. I don't have diapers. I don't have formula. I don't know what he eats. He doesn't. He drinks every 2 hours and screams when he doesn't. I'll send supplies." My head spun. I stared at the little bundle in the bassinet, one socked foot sticking out. The barrette they'd removed from the umbilical cord was sitting in a plastic evidence bag on the counter, pink, with a tiny white daisy on it. "Okay," I said. "I'll take him tonight." Blair handed me a form. "Sign here, here, and here. We'll file the rest in the morning." "What do we call him?" I thought about the box, the bridge, the way he cried right when I reached in. Luke came to mind, straight out of Luke 15, lost and found. "Luke," I said. She wrote it down without comment. "Luke it is." They wheeled us out to the truck 20 minutes later. The nurse showed me how to buckle the infant seat they'd loaned me, double-checking every latch like a flight crew. Luke stayed quiet until we hit the parking lot floodlights. Then he wailed like he remembered where he came from. I whispered, "We're not going back there, bud." And he settled. I drove straight to the church lot. Marin slid into the front passenger seat with her coat off and hands ready. She didn't say a word, just took Luke in her arms and held him close. "He's tiny," she said, "but alert." Pierce came out with a fleece blanket and a look that made me feel like I hadn't completely lost my mind. He placed a hand on my shoulder and said, "You're not alone." I wanted to believe him, but it still felt like I was free-falling through air I couldn't breathe. 12 minutes later, headlights pulled in. Blair stepped out holding her clipboard like a sword. She checked Luke's vitals again, asked 100 questions about my house, job, food, heat, and emergency contacts. Then she said, "Follow me home. We'll drop supplies and prep your space." I nodded. I didn't think. I didn't plan. I just drove behind her like I wasn't the same man who'd gone under a bridge an hour ago. But I wasn't the same man. That much was already true. Luke was asleep when we returned later for formal intake at the clinic. The nurse, round glasses, no patience, pulled back the blanket like it was a curtain and said, 6 pounds, 2 ounces. Umbilical still soft. He was born this morning or last night, no later. Her hands were steady. Mine weren't. The doctor, gray hair, quiet voice, ran through a short list of tests. No signs of trauma. Vitals are strong. He's cold stressed, but he'll bounce back. No prenatal care, best we can tell. Someone hid this pregnancy. Blair stood in the doorway with her arms crossed, and that look she wears when she's lining up facts in her head. She asked the nurse to list the preliminary findings twice, then nodded and said to me, "If you're willing, I'd like to list you as a temporary caregiver, emergency placement, kinship-like." I blinked. Kinship-like? She flipped a folder open. "You're not blood, but you found him. You've got ties to his mother's family, even if distant. It lets us keep him out of shelter care while we figure out the next step." "Yeah," I said, mouth moving before my brain caught up. "Yes, I'll take him." Blair didn't smile, just handed me a form and clicked her pen. "Initial term is 72 hours. After that, we reassess." The nurse reached for the chart and paused. "We'll use the name you gave at Urgent Peds, Luke, unless you want to change it." "Keep Luke," I said. She wrote it down without blinking. Marin, leaning in the corner with her arms folded, raised one eyebrow like she wanted to argue but didn't. Then she said, "That fits." Pierce must have been listening to one of us, because my phone buzzed a minute later. Luke is good. Luke saw clearly. That stuck with me harder than it should have. The room got quiet until the door cracked open and a man stepped in like he already hated everyone in it. Sport coat, crooked tie, tired eyes, Detective Doyle. He flashed a badge that had seen better days. "You the guy who found the baby?" he asked. I nodded. "Under the bridge, just after noon." "Tell me everything. Start from the road, end with the river." I gave him the make of the sedan, tan, 4-door, dented side panel. The guy had on a hoodie, hood up, white sneakers. Shorter than me, skinny, moved fast. That was all I had. "Plate?" Doyle asked. "No plate, no front tag. Couldn't get the rear." He sighed, pulled out a notebook, and jotted something. "Box?" "Wooden. Looked handmade. No latch. About 2 feet long. Heavy enough to float low." He looked up. "You touched it?" "Yeah. Pulled it in, opened it. Had to." He didn't argue, just pulled out a swab kit and said, "We bagged it. We'll dust it and test the fibers. The clip that clamped the cord. Where is it?" Blair pointed to the counter. "It's in the evidence bag." Doyle picked it up like it was made of gold. "Hair clip. Plastic. From a dollar store if I had to bet. Might get lucky with prints." He left after 5 more questions, none of which had better answers. "We'll be in touch," he said. "This one's gonna unravel fast." After he left, Blair leaned against the wall and crossed her arms again. "We're in sensitive territory. Safe haven laws protect newborn drop-offs, but only in legal spots. Hospitals, police, fire stations, not creeks." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. She looked at me straight. This can get messy. If family shows up, we'll need to verify rights. If they don't, it's a custody maze. Don't take him anywhere without telling me first. Understood. She handed me the last form. Sign here for 72 hours of foster placement. This keeps him in your care while we investigate. My hand shook. I still signed. I left the clinic with a borrowed car seat, a plastic bag full of baby supplies, and my shirt still wet under the jacket. Luke was bundled tight, face turned toward the ceiling of my truck like he was watching the sky. I'd barely clicked the seatbelt when my phone rang. Daryl. You making it in tonight? He asked. No, I said. I'm taking care of something. I hesitated. I found a baby. He's with me. Silence on the line. Then, what the hell does that mean? It means I'm not just covering freight tonight. He let out a long breath. Family comes first, he said eventually. I'll juggle the line, but don't make a habit of miracles on truck nights, okay? I promised him I wouldn't. Didn't say what I already knew. The ride home was dead quiet. I didn't turn the radio on, just the tires humming against the road, Luke breathing soft in the back seat, and my hands clenched tighter than I'd like to admit. When we pulled into my driveway, I just sat there for a while. The porch light flickered like always. My neighbor's dog barked twice and gave up. Inside, the fridge would still be humming, and the baseboard heat would still be clicking like time never stopped. But it had. I looked in the mirror at Luke. He was asleep, mouth open, hands balled into tiny fists like he was ready for a fight he hadn't even seen yet. That's when I knew. I wasn't just helping. I wasn't just filling a gap until someone official showed up. I'd crossed a line, and there was no way I was stepping back over it. This boy wasn't mine, but I already knew I'd bleed to keep him breathing. I didn't sleep, just hovered around the bassinet like a guy watching a grenade that hadn't gone off. Luke breathed in soft puffs, his tiny chest rising like clockwork, while I vacuumed every corner of the living room at 2 a.m., like that was going to fix anything. I found dust under the couch I didn't even know I owned. Set a spare laundry basket near the couch, filled it with rolled towels, then swapped it out for a borrowed bassinet Maren had stashed in her garage from back when she helped with emergency placements. I boiled bottles I hadn't bought and wiped down every surface twice. It felt like prepping for a test I couldn't study for. By 6:40 sharp, Maren was at the door holding 2 coffees, a pack of diapers, and the exact face I expected. Raised eyebrows, tired eyes, and a smirk that said, "You're in over your head, but I came anyway." "You clean like a man who's expecting a judge and Jesus," she said, stepping over the vacuum cord. "I don't know what I'm doing." "No kidding." She walked straight to the kitchen and started unpacking supplies like she lived there. Wipes, burp cloths, bottles, formula samples, thermometer, swaddles. "You need a baby bin," she said. "Everything in one spot, preferably not next to the hot sauce." Before I could argue, my phone rang. Doyle. "Get this," he said. "Transfer station worker, Bernice something, calls in. Says a guy came by yesterday and picked up a busted wooden crate. Said it was too solid to toss." My mouth went dry. "Same kind of box?" She swears it's the same one. Says she remembers the paint stains. Ratty ball cap, black hoodie, beat-up sedan with a temp tag hanging off the back. Says the guy runs what he calls rental deals out of his car trunk. "What's the name?" "Zane Kinder." "You heard of him?" I hadn't, but Maren had. She mouthed mortgage flipper, eyes sharp. Doyle went on. "Claims he's a consultant, but he's got no license. 3 complaints, 2 evictions. Has an Instagram that makes him look like he's killing it, but he owes half the county back rent. That box came from his garage, almost definitely. You find out how he got the baby?" "We're working that angle now. Found a cell phone near the bridge pull-off. Belongs to a student, Raina Eldridge. 20. 2 semesters at the community college. Dropped out last year. The name Eldridge punched me in the chest. Related to Tessa?" Maren froze, hand still in the diaper bag. Doyle continued. Possibly. We're tracking it. Listen to this. An ER doc from the next county logged a call at 3:04 a.m. from a woman asking what to do if a newborn won't cry. The call dropped before she gave a name. They couldn't trace it until we brought the phone in. My gut twisted. You think she delivered alone? Looks that way. Somewhere off campus. No prenatal, no help, no nothing. Coroner just called Blair. Raina was found deceased this morning. Complications from labor. Apartment manager found her. I closed my eyes. She called for help. Yeah, and no one came fast enough. He hung up. I stood there with my phone pressed to my ear like it was still ringing. Marin didn't speak until I looked at her. Eldridge? She asked. Same family name. That can't be a coincidence. Blair's gonna have to verify it. But if it's real, then Luke's not just a foundling. He's family. That's when Pierce called and gave me the number for Harris, local family law guy from church. No frills, tight schedule, knew his statutes backward. Stay tidy, Harris said over speaker. Don't lie, don't dodge. Document everything. If the grandparents exist, we get to them first. Blair came by within the hour. She'd already started the putative father registry search and filed a request for public notice. We do this now, she said. Not when it's a mess. She sat at my kitchen table, spread out her files, and handed me a short printout. Birth alert match. Raina Eldridge, 20, from Reading. Parents listed, Celeste and Gordon. No cell numbers, just a landline. They still in Reading? I asked. Last known. Gordon drives an old diesel Ford. She's on church rosters, not much else. Marin set her coffee down. They don't know she's dead yet? Not unless the coroner's called them, Blair said. We're checking timelines. I glanced over at Luke, sleeping like nothing had cracked in the world around him. Blair laid out the next steps like a checklist. Verify maternity through DNA, test for paternity if any male steps forward, notify the maternal grandparents and offer supervised contact if they request it. It'll all be court documented, she said. And we protect Luke first, no matter what. He stays here for now? I asked. Unless something drastic changes, yes. Luke woke right then like he'd timed it. Small yawn, tiny fists, eyes blinking against the morning light. I stuck my finger in his palm, and he gripped it like a mechanic with a stripped bolt. Wouldn't let go. Marin smiled barely. You're already ruined. Yeah, I said. Feels like it. Later that afternoon, I got another text from Daryl. You've missed 2 nights. I'm getting heat. Right after that, a second text came in from Theo, a guy from my shift who always kept snacks in his locker like a scout leader. I'll cover Friday, man. I'll even bring size 1s. Don't quit on us yet. I laughed. First real laugh since the river. Marin saw the screen and said, You're not doing this alone. Don't be dumb enough to try. I didn't argue. I was already past that line. Way past it. Luke finally passed out in the bassinet, arms overhead like he'd won something. I waited until I was sure he wasn't faking it, then slid on my boots and headed to the warehouse. Marin had him for a few hours, said she could shift her lunch and sneak him into a back room at the school. It's either that or I bring him into a math meeting, she said. He'll be the most qualified person there. Daryl met me by the time clock, arms folded, eyes locked on me like I was a late delivery he wasn't sure was worth signing for. You're late, he said. And I get it. You're dealing with a lot. But call me again. HR is going to come for both our throats. I'm not trying to disappear, I said. You're not trying hard not to either. Before I could explain, Theo walked by, tossed me a pack of wipes, and grinned. My sister had twins last year. She mailed me a box. You want formula samples too? I laughed, tucked the wipes into my lunch crate, and nodded. Might be the most useful thing I've gotten all week. I told you babies are expensive. Even their farts cost money. Daryl wasn't done. You still on overnights? Not if you've got another option. He leaned against the wall. Show me you're not going to ghost. I might be able to swing a weekend day shift in receiving. It's slower, but steadier. I'll take anything with daylight. I can't keep doing nights with a baby who thinks sleep is optional. He nodded once, just enough to mean something. Prove it. I clocked in and headed for the dock. The place hadn't changed. Same busted pallet jack, same metal-on-metal screech from the freezer door, same drip under the HVAC that no one bothered to fix. I loaded frozen turkeys till my back barked and sweat soaked through my collar. Every break, I checked my phone like a kid waiting on a prom date. Nothing from Doyle, nothing from Harris, a thumbs up from Blair. That was it. After my shift, I swung by the school and picked up Luke from Marin. She handed him over with a list of what he'd eaten, how long he'd slept, and a side eye that said, I still looked like hell. You sterilized those bottles yet? She asked as we reached my driveway. Define sterilize. She didn't laugh, just followed me inside, washed her hands, and set up a full crash course in Baby Care 101. You boil everything, nipples, rings, caps, all of it. At least 5 minutes, and don't dry them with a towel. Air dry only. You're not going to give him the flu from a burp cloth, but don't push your luck. She labeled each bottle with a Sharpie and organized the drying rack like she was prepping a science lab. That night, Pierce started something new. Called me at noon every day, just to keep me centered. He didn't say much, just let me talk, or not talk, didn't matter. Sometimes we just sat there with the speakerphone between us, and the sound of Luke gurgling in the background. You breathing? He'd ask. Yeah, I'd say. 1 minute at a time. That was usually enough. Around 9, I checked my voicemail and found a message from Bernice, the woman from the transfer station. I seen him take that box, honey, she said. Said he was moving past paperwork. That boy don't pay rent on time, but he sure knows how to sell a lie. You be careful now. I played it 3 times just to hear the certainty in her voice. She wasn't guessing. She knew it was him. I forwarded the audio to Doyle and texted. She confirmed Zane had the box. Her words, not mine. No reply yet. But I knew it mattered. The next day, I showed up early to receiving, helped an old guy named Mel restack a skid of canned corn, and didn't screw anything up. By lunch, Darryl caught me near the lockers. You look slightly less dead, he said. You serious about that day shift? As serious as a guy can be with a newborn and no idea what he's doing. Fine. We'll try you this weekend. 2 days. If you don't vanish, we'll keep talking. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just show up. Back home, Luke screamed through most of the evening. Marin swung by again with a new pacifier and an old trick, white noise from the dryer. Put the bassinet in the laundry room, she said. I swear it's like baby heroin. It worked. After she left, I sat on the couch in the blue TV glow with Luke asleep on my chest. His breath hitched now and then like he was remembering something bad, then settled. I wrapped my hand over his back and whispered, We're gonna do this clean, buddy. No lies, no shortcuts. My phone buzzed. Harris. I can meet Celeste and Gordon Thursday at 11. Bring Marin if you want backup. I looked down at Luke. His fingers curled against my shirt, tiny but firm, like he thought he was anchoring us both. I replied, We'll be there. I didn't know what those 2 people would be like. Angry, grieving, maybe both. But they were his blood, and I owed them the truth. Clean. Luke snored. I stared at the ceiling like it could answer something. Then I closed my eyes and let myself believe, just for a second, that maybe, we had a shot. Thursday morning came quiet and gray. Luke was down for his second nap, and I was pacing like a man waiting on a firing squad. Marin sat on the edge of the couch holding a clipboard from Harris with questions she said I might hear. Church, finances, background, intentions. This isn't an interview, she said, but the tightness in her voice said otherwise. They lost a daughter. You're holding their grandson. It's complicated. Be honest. Don't sugarcoat it. I nodded, even though my palms were sweating through my flannel. When Celeste and Gordon Eldridge pulled into the lot, I recognized their truck before they got out. A two-tone Ford with one rusted fender and a crumpled tailgate. They stepped out wearing Sunday clothes like they'd just come from a funeral. He in a dark blazer that didn't quite fit his shoulders, she in a cream blouse with small pearl buttons. They looked up at my building like it might be a test. I opened the door before they knocked. Celeste came in first, hands clutched tight around her purse strap. She looked at the pictures on my wall, the clean floors, the playmat near the couch, and then straight to the bassinet by the window. Her whole face shifted. Everything else fell away. "May I hold him?" she asked. I stepped aside and nodded. "Please." She walked over like her legs might give out, bent down, and scooped Luke into her arms. The second her cheek touched his little hat, she broke. "He smells like soap," she whispered, rocking side to side. "Our Raina used to smell like peaches, even after the playground." Gordon didn't sit. He moved straight to the window and stared out at the parking lot like he was still trying to find something he missed. After a long stretch of silence, he said, "We missed something. I don't know what, but we did." Then he didn't say anything else for a while. Harris kept things from unraveling. He greeted them both with respect, shook hands, checked their IDs, and reviewed the basic structure: emergency guardianship, path to adoption, open contact. "You'd remain part of his life," he explained. "You'd be on record as his maternal family. This isn't a closed door. It's a shared one." Celeste nodded, eyes never leaving Luke. "We're not here to fight." "I appreciate that," I said, voice rougher than I wanted. "But I need to say something before we go any further." Marin's hand brushed my shoulder, steadying. I looked straight at them and didn't soften it. "Your daughter delivered him alone. We think in an apartment, maybe that same night. She called for help, but never got to give her name. Zane Kinder had a box she'd used. Wooden, no latch. He dumped it in the river under the state bridge. I saw him do it. I went in after." Celeste blinked like she was absorbing a punch. Gordon finally turned from the window. His eyes were glassy but dry. "She was supposed to be at her cousin's this semester," he said. "Said she was taking a break. We didn't know it was permanent." "She didn't want you to see her like that," Marin said softly. "I would have taken her home," Celeste said. "I would have forgiven whatever she was afraid of." I nodded. "I believe that." We sat in silence for a moment, just the small room and the weight of what couldn't be undone. Celeste cleared her throat. "Do you take him to church?" "Yes," I said. "With Pastor Pierce. He's the one who kept me steady after the fire." She gave a soft, relieved nod, like that settled something inside her. Gordon stepped closer. "What about money? You working?" I answered without flinching. "I work in receiving. Switch to days. It's tight, but I've got help. I've got people. And when people aren't enough, I'll work more." He looked at me, long and steady, then gave the smallest nod. Celeste leaned down, kissed Luke's cheek, and looked up. "Don't lock us out. That's our only ask. Let him know where he came from. Let us see him. No court fights, no sneaking around." I held her gaze. "I'll never lie to him. You have my word." She extended her hand. I took it. Hers was cold and shaking, but she didn't let go fast. Marin, still seated beside me, let out a slow breath. "You'll do right by him." Harris got the document signed, first emergency consent, then agreement to pursue adoption with open contact. Celeste and Gordon added notes about visits, preferred days, and even mentioned they'd like to bring a photo album when Luke was older. Blair showed up that afternoon to review the paperwork. She was calm, all business, but when she saw the signatures from Celeste and Gordon, her face softened. "This makes the next phase smoother," she said. "Supervised visits at the county office. No surprises. No drama." That Sunday, Pierce baptized Luke. It was a short ceremony, just a basin of warm water, 2 folding chairs, and a handful of people who knew how far we'd come. Pierce said the words plain and steady. "We name this child Luke Harlan Eldridge, son by blood and by love. I held him through the whole thing. He barely stirred, just blinked up at me like he already understood this wasn't just a ritual. It was a marker, a turn in the road. We gave him his mother's family name, Eldridge, and I gave him mine as his middle. For the first time in a long time, my chest didn't feel hollow. It felt full, like air belonged there again. The envelope came folded in half, shoved through the crack in my mailbox like a junk flyer. No return address, no name, just block letters on cheap paper. Pay $4,800 by Friday, or the story of your river baby goes public. Below that, a Cash App handle I didn't recognize, and a tone that oozed cocky, like it belonged to someone who thought he was 10 steps ahead. I stood on the porch with Luke strapped to my chest in the carrier, the paper shaking in my hand. He burped against my shirt and let out a small hiccup. The smell of formula and baby soap clung to me like armor. I folded the letter again and walked inside without a word. Harris saw it an hour later and didn't blink. Don't pay. Document everything. You pay once, he owns you. We build a box he can't climb out of. I scanned the letter and sent it to him and Blair both. She replied 5 minutes later. Noted. Keep envelope. We'll match handwriting if needed. Doyle was even less surprised. Zane's a parasite, he said over the phone. Suspended license. Fake brokerage website. 3 checks bounced last week. Guys hustling everything but truth. You think he'll stop? Parasites don't rest, Harlan. They squirm until you pin 'em. That was on a Tuesday. By Thursday, Zane decided to make it personal. I was walking Luke under the bridge near dusk, same one I pulled him from, when I spotted movement behind one of the concrete supports. I stopped, adjusted Luke's carrier, and squared my shoulders. Zane stepped out like he was trying to look casual, hands shoved deep in his hoodie pockets, hair greasy, and hat turned backward like he was 15. You raise my son, he said. You pay rent. I didn't answer, just kept one hand resting on the carrier strap. He smirked. Come on, man. You think courts care about creek details? That kid's blood ain't yours. That's leverage. Then, like fate had a wicked sense of humor, Hoyt pulled up in the mail truck. Same route, same slow crawl. He leaned out the driver's window and yelled, Cameras live, gents. You want to be famous, keep standing there. Zane flinched like he'd been burned. He backed off fast, mumbling something about legal action and just talking. I watched him walk toward his beat-up sedan, temp tag still flapping in the wind, and didn't move until his taillights disappeared. That night, Marin came over with groceries and a cardboard box full of baby-proofing gear. You got a plan if this gets uglier? She asked, setting cans in the pantry like she owned the space. Harris has it. Doyle's watching him. She shut the cabinet door harder than necessary. That's not what I asked. I turned. What are you asking then? She didn't blink. I'm asking if you're going to keep doing this like it's just your fight. I didn't answer. I didn't have to. She dropped the outlet covers on the counter and walked toward me. Let me in, Harlan. You don't have to be the only one swinging. Luke cried from the other room. She went to him without waiting for permission. Next day at work, Darryl called me into the office. He held up a write-up slip, already signed. Last absence I can cover, he said. You disappear again? It's not a warning. It's a firing. I nodded. Understood. Then he did the craziest thing. He pulled out a folded piece of paper and slid it across the desk. Sister location over in Templeton has a temporary day slot. It's short term. 2 weeks, maybe 3. You take it, you stay visible. That's all I'm asking. 2 towns over? You can swing it, and you look like death, man. Take the shift. Stop bleeding out in front of my forklifts. I took the paper and nodded. Thank you. Don't thank me. Just clock in. Back home, I told Blair about the move, and she filed a relocation motion that same day. Judge signed off before noon. Keep everything documented, she said. This keeps us covered until finalization. The new place was quiet. 2-bedroom apartment tucked behind a struggling mall, walking distance to a school with decent test scores, and a daycare that didn't reek of sour milk. We moved in with 2 borrowed suitcases, 1 folding crib, and enough stress to crack concrete. Luke slept through the first night. I didn't. I kept staring at the hallway light spilling across the carpet, waiting for some knock that didn't come. I listened to the fridge hum like the old one back at the house, but this time it felt like silence with a purpose, not punishment. When I told Pierce about the move, he didn't say much, just leaned on his elbows and said, "Go straight through." That stuck. A few nights in, I caught myself dreaming. Not about fires or rivers or courts, just about being rested, about Luke laughing in the back seat, about Marin making fun of my off-brand cereal, her laughing at my dumb jokes, that little line at the corner of her mouth when she smirks. I hated myself for liking it. Then I stopped hating it, and just liked it. The thing was, Zane was still out there, and he wasn't done yet. But I had Luke. I had paperwork. I had people. And for the first time since that siren split my life in half, I had a map, and I was walking it, straight through. The first day on the new job, I held a ring of keys like it was a test I hadn't studied for. School district custodial crew, day shift, radios, locker codes, paper towels that jammed if you looked at them wrong. But it was quiet, structured, had a checklist with boxes I could actually finish. That mattered more than I thought it would. Luke's daycare was 3 blocks from my new place. We walked there every morning. Him bundled up in the stroller with a pacifier and a squeaky giraffe. Me drinking gas station coffee and checking my phone for texts from Harris or Blair. The staff learned my name quick. Miss Callahan liked stickers. Mr. Riley didn't like talking before 9. Luke liked both of them just fine. Marin got transferred too. Regional custody coordinator now. Somehow her new office ended up 2 buildings over from mine. We didn't plan it. It just worked out that way. Twice a week she met me in the parking lot and we ate in her car. Case files in the back seat. Casseroles on our laps. "You still cooking like Grief's your sous chef?" I asked one Thursday, chewing on some kind of pasta bake with too much garlic and not enough regret. She smirked. "Says the man whose dinner last week was animal crackers and string cheese. I'm refining my system." "Sure, call it that." That same night, Luke babbled at the phone screen while Celeste and Gordon FaceTimed from their kitchen in Reading. He clapped when Celeste sang him a lullaby. When Gordon leaned in to say goodbye, Luke kissed the screen and drooled all over the camera lens. The putative father registry search came back empty the next week. Blair sent the update with a short note. No claims filed. Publication notice ran for 30 days. No response. Parental rights cleared. With Raina confirmed deceased and no father stepping forward, guardianship had nowhere left to go, but final. Blair looked less tired than she had in spring, still wore the same no-nonsense flats and carried a bag full of folders, but now she smiled more when she handed them out. "Finalization set for mid-October," she said after a Thursday drop-by. "Judge is one of the good ones. Should go smooth if Zane doesn't pop up again." I didn't say anything, just nodded and made sure the paperwork was scanned, backed up, and locked in the fireproof box under my bed. Zane, of course, couldn't keep his head down. Bernice called me again, second time in 2 months. "Thought you should know," she said. "That Zane kid tried to sell a rent-to-own deal to my nephew, used a fake notary stamp and everything. I told him, boy, don't you hand that man a dime." I passed it straight to Doyle, who called it pattern evidence, and added it to the growing pile. Then Harris called me one morning while I was wiping gum off a lunch table. "You're not going to like this," he said. "Zane filed a nuisance claim in small claims court. He's calling it parental access fees. Wants compensation for being cut out of potential custody." "What?" "He's fishing for settlement money. The good news is, the judge tossed it. No standing. But I want you to keep your head on straight. He's not playing fair." That night I sat on the floor next to Luke's crib and watched him sleep. His hand twitched like he was still fighting off something in a dream. I tucked his blanket under his shoulder and whispered, "We're still okay, no matter what comes next." Pierce kept up his calls, short, steady, no speeches. He asked how I was eating, if I was sleeping, if I was telling Luke we were okay. I do, I said, every night. Good. Say it until it's true. I think it is. Even better. The mall near our new place had a quiet vibe. Half the shops closed, old linoleum floors that echoed when you walked too fast. One evening I parked outside the grocery entrance and went in for formula. The security guard at the door, guy named Dale, big arms, slow voice, flagged me down. "You drive a silver Tacoma, right?" he asked. "Yeah." He leaned in like he was sharing gossip. "We pulled footage last week. Same sedan tailing your truck 2 times. Once Monday, once Thursday. Looked like that guy from the flyer Harris gave us." "Zane?" He nodded. "Didn't come in the store. Just circled. Stayed back. But it's on camera. We sent it to the county." I called Doyle that night. He didn't even sound surprised. "We've got a folder with his name on it, and it's fat. Don't confront him. Don't react. Let us build it." I tried, but it stayed in my chest like static. Marin came by after Luke was down, dropped off laundry detergent and a new bottle warmer. We went for a walk around the block. Quiet, humid, just the buzz of streetlights and crickets. Halfway through, she reached for my hand. I hesitated, not because I didn't want to hold it, but because I wasn't sure I deserved it. She didn't let go. "Feels wrong," I said after a minute. "Only for the first 5 minutes," she said. "Then it just feels like sunlight." She was right. The 3rd letter showed up on a Tuesday. Same cheap envelope, same blocky print. But this time, the number was bigger and the threat was louder. $7,200. Friday. No cops. Cash. "Meet me at the old warehouse. You know the one." I did know it. The place I used to load pallets before Luke showed up in my life. I read the letter twice, and then handed it to Harris without a word. He skimmed it, snorted, and said, "He's getting sloppy." Good. We picked the spot. Not him. We chose the Cutler Avenue wholesale lot. 4 solid CCTV angles. One night guard who loved rules like most men love bourbon. Big fences. Even bigger lighting. You could see every square foot like it was a football field. Daryl heard about the setup and offered more than just advice. "You want backup?" he asked. "I've got 2 guys off shift, Theo and Jamal. They're loud, loyal, and own folding chairs. We'll make it look like they're shopping for a used couch." I nodded. "I'll take them." "Good. Zane deserves a front row seat to his own screw-up." Doyle came by to wire me. It was a little button cam, nothing fancy, clipped to the center of my shirt. "He'll talk," Doyle muttered while he tested the mic. "Guys like him always think they're smarter than the room." We did a full dry run with Theo and Jamal posted by the loading ramp, drinking vending machine sodas like they had nowhere else to be. Daryl stayed nearby in case something went sideways. Marin parked my truck in the far end of the lot and sat inside with Luke asleep in the car seat. She had a burner phone with only 2 numbers, Harris and Pierce. Her hand shook a little on the dial pad, but she didn't move from her seat. "You don't have to be here," I told her. She didn't blink. "I'm already in this. We finish it." 10 minutes past the meet time, Zane rolled in with that lazy arrogance he wore like cologne. Beat-up Camry, blazer 2 sizes too big, hair slicked back with effort and not results. His eyes danced as he got out, like he was already imagining the payoff. "Man," he said, grinning like we were old college buddies. "I knew you'd show. You're responsible. Guys like you always want to tie things up neat." I said nothing, just stood where the cameras could see me and let him talk. "You raise my son, cool. But I need something out of this. Paperwork's easy. I could file tomorrow, you know. Say I'm the father. Nobody'd check." I kept my jaw tight. He was looking for a reaction. Then he said it. "I put him in that water 'cause I panicked. I ain't his dad. Nobody told me to. I just couldn't think." His voice cracked, not from guilt, just pressure. And then, Like God wanted one more exclamation point. Guard Mike stepped out of the booth, stretched, and hollered like we were at a baseball game. "Cameras caught it, fellas. Keep going. This is good stuff." Zane twitched. I saw it in his shoulders. "You're done," I said, voice flat. He laughed like I'd told the world's worst joke. "You ain't even got the envelope, man. Don't waste my time." He reached forward, maybe expecting to snatch cash or scare me. Either way, he didn't get far. Doyle and his partner rounded the back of a parked Chevy Tahoe, like stagehands pulling a curtain. Guns holstered, vests on, badges out. Zane froze. Then he ran. Made it 4 steps before his bootlace caught a crack in the pavement, and he hit the ground like a sack of bricks. Flat on his face, both hands out. The sound echoed across the lot like a dropped pallet. They were on him in seconds. "You're under arrest for extortion, attempted fraud, and statements related to endangerment of a minor," Doyle read off, voice calm, practiced. "You have the right to remain silent." Zane kept squirming until Theo stepped up, arms crossed, and muttered, "That's what panic really looks like." I didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Jamal offered me a bottle of water and clapped me on the back. "Damn good show, man." It should have felt like victory. Instead, I stood there while Zane got cuffed, and I felt hollow and full at the same time. Like a storm had finally passed, but left dents behind I hadn't noticed until everything went quiet. Luke was still asleep when I climbed into the truck. Marin held my hand the whole way home. Neither of us said a word. The adoption hearing took 42 minutes, start to finish. I sat at a plain wooden table, tie tight, hands steady, Luke in a little navy button-down that Marin ironed that morning while I paced the kitchen. Judge Henley, mid-60s, glasses low, voice like gravel, asked me why I wanted to be this boy's father. I said, "Because I already am." He looked at me for a long second, then wrote something on the paper in front of him and said, "Let's make it official." Celeste gasped behind me, and Gordon put a hand on her back. They were crying, smiling, holding each other like they'd just watched something bloom and break at the same time. After the hearing, they insisted on taking us to a diner down the street. Luke mashed eggs into his hair. The check came to $28, and Gordon slapped his card on the table before I could even reach for mine. "You've already paid more than enough," he said. Back in the courthouse lobby, Pierce pulled me in for a hug and held it longer than usual. When he stepped back, he said it again, steady and sure, "Don't turn to the right or to the left." I looked him straight in the eye. "I finally know what that means." He smiled like a man who knew I meant it. Harris filed the final batch of papers before we even left the building. Guardianship closed, adoption recorded, protective order approved. The victim's statement I'd written was stapled to the file. Zane's public defender didn't even argue. He just stared at the CCTV stills of Zane running his mouth in the Cutler lot and shook his head like he wanted to be anywhere else. That afternoon, Blair showed up at the apartment with a stuffed fox in one hand and a folder in the other. She set Luke on the rug and watched him crawl toward the toy like he'd been waiting for it his whole life. "This," she said, sitting down on the floor in her work shoes, "is the part of my job I like." I offered her coffee. She declined, but not fast. Daryl called that evening. "Just wanted to say we filled your old slot. No hard feelings. You found your lane." "Yeah," I said. "Day shift's saving my life." He paused. "You ever need hours, you call me. Doesn't matter what department." "Appreciate that." That weekend we took Luke to the quiet mall, the one with the clunky little train that runs circles around the food court. I bought him 3 rides. He screamed when it stopped, then clapped like he'd just conquered a mountain. Marin and I sat on the bench, watching him bounce in his seat, one hand on my knee and the other holding a juice box like she was in charge of snack detail. The way she looked at him, steady, soft, but never pitying, told me everything I hadn't figured out how to say yet. That night, after Luke was down and the place was still, we sat out on the porch. The air was warm, quiet, street lamp buzz, no tension left in my shoulders. just tired in a different way. I didn't rehearse it. I just turned to her and asked, "You think someday you'd want to marry me? Once the dust actually settles?" She didn't flinch, just tilted her head like she was hearing the rest of a sentence I'd already started. "Someday sounds right," she said. I looked up at the dark, stars barely visible through the haze. Thought about the river, the crate, that tiny hand that grabbed my shirt like it knew something I didn't. I thought about Tessa, not in grief, not in guilt, just in gratitude. I could feel her love, clear as a bell, and for the first time, it didn't pull me backward. I'm older now, telling you this like a long story over coffee. Maybe you're sitting somewhere warm, maybe rocking a baby of your own. But the ending is simple. Luke sleeps. We keep watch, and I walk a straight line. No right, no left, all the way through. What would you have done if you'd found that box under the bridge? Walked away, or stepped in like Harlan did? If this story hit you, leave a comment, share your thoughts, or just say you liked it. It really helps the channel grow. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It's only one click for you, but it means the world to us.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.